Welcome, family, to another episode of Coach Sarah Joy Talks. I'm your host, Coach Sarah Joy, a holistic hybrid master coach, meaning I'm a certified transformational nutrition coach. I have a degree in health and fitness. I'm a medical intuitive / psychic medium. And today, you guys, we are going to be hanging out with one of my favorite people. I call him the Elon Musk of science, microbiologist, Krishnan. Hey girls. Happy you're here. Hi Alexia. How you doing today? Today is gonna be such a good live. I don't know why it just sent me a request. That's okay though. I'll just ignore it. So, who's ready to talk about sex hormones, male and female, as well as Kiran's new company, Endo Access? Great, so excited. Yes, me too. Hi, Barbara. How are you guys all doing today? I'm ready for Christmas. I don't know if you guys are. We got an 8-day countdown over here. So yes, we are going to be talking to the beautiful Elon Musk of science is my nickname for him now. I told him that. He thought it was great. Krishnan, he'll be here any minute. Hi, Ginger. Thanks for being here. We're just giving it a second for him to pop on. So anyways, sorry, distracted. We're going to be talking about sex hormones. So are any of you struggling with PMS, PMDD, perimenopause type symptoms, or infertility? Maybe your man has ED. So we're going to be going into sex hormones today, male and female, and his new amazing company that I've already been exploring with my clients. If you've been listening to my stories, you've been hearing me talk about the beta testing that I have going on right now with Endo Access. So he's going to come on and talk to us all about this new breakthrough state-of-the-art company. I swear everything this man does is state-of-the-art. If you haven't listened to my other 2 episodes, here he is. You guys have to go listen to him and hear his background. Here he goes. Ooh, we're so excited. I accepted your request. Oh wait, no, I don't have a request. Okay. Okay. Okay, hang on, guys. There. Oh, it worked.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Hey, handsome. It's so
Hi,
good
how
to
are
see
you?
you.
Thank you. Great to see you as well. I love the festive motif you have going on with the
Thank
Christmas
you.
trees and all that. It's that season, so
Thank you.
gotta make it happen.
Yes, we're
Yeah,
ready. We are
I
ready.
love it.
All
I know
right.
my house is all fully decorated as well, and I love being surrounded by all of that Christmas decoration. So
Nice. I
it's
don't know if
nice.
you can hear, but I also have like some jazz
I
Christmas music on in the
do
background.
hear it. Yes, when I was waiting for this thing to work properly, I could hear it. It was very pleasant.
Thank you.
I
Yes.
liked it. Yes. Well, thanks for having me on again. It's fun.
I know. So this is number 3, and I just love spending time with you.
Thank you.
I absolutely love the work you do, and I'm
Yeah.
like thoroughly engrossed in all of it. So I have a question.
Yes.
What number of podcasts is this for you? I know you're at the end of the year, like 256?
I would say so. If you combine podcasts and lives, it's got to be at least 160, 170. I actually had
Wow.
one other podcast today and one yesterday as well. So this week alone, I think it'll be 4. So
Wow.
if we're averaging 3, 4 a week, it's probably in that 160, 170 range.
Wow.
So it's a lot of talking, but I don't mind it. It's the only thing I can do. So it's
Well, thank you so much for your time for not just me, but literally everyone, because I mean, I don't know if you ever step back and realize like you have single-handedly changed the world. You
well,
really
thank
have,
you. That's
you
so kind
know?
of you to say. I mean, that's the motivation to do this every day, right? Is that one impacting it one person at a time, if that's what it takes, and then hopefully people then use what's been positive for them to impact others, and it spreads that way. But it's exciting to be involved in all of this.
Good. Because I know that through you, I'm able to change people's lives.
Yeah.
And so that's what I want to get
Yeah.
into. Okay, so for everyone, hi everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Coach Sarah Joy. You missed my little intro. I'm a holistic, I call myself a holistic hybrid coach. So if you want to know more about me, you can check out my bio. As you guys know, this is the Elon Musk of science, the one and only Krishnan. If you want to hear his incredible upbringing and why he's so amazing, go listen to my first episode and see how he's a complete smush sandwich of his mom and dad together. It's so fascinating. So,
That's true.
yeah, I didn't forget. Okay, so, oh my gosh, my mom just joined.
Oh,
Hi, mom.
awesome. Hello, Mom.
I know. Okay, so as you know, I've been engrossed in your previous company for about 3 years now, Microbiome Labs, using the
Hmm.
BiomeFX on the gut and the vaginal test on pretty much all of my clients.
Hmm.
And using the products you develop, the probiotics, and creating individualized protocols with the specialist at Microbiome Labs to be able to help my clients find out what's going on with their
Hmm.
symptoms and reverse them and step into a higher quality of life. And it's been phenomenal. The results that my clients get, even myself, because I use the products myself, it's just incredible. So when I saw that you co-founded a new company, it was like no brainer of like, what is this? I'm joining. And so I've been learning about endo access. I've been learning about men and women's sex hormones. I've now been using the
Hmm.
program in full script for about 2 months. Learning curve. I got to learn all the
Sure.
things. But so far, it's so seamless and it's so easy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is actually very just easy for me to like pick up and learn and
Hmm.
start using. And I have been, and I have some clients on the formulas where, I'm kind of testing them out, see how everything's going, see just, playing with
Hmm.
it, learning it. And I love it. So I wanted to start with the basics and have you just explain like, what is endo access?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to explain that. So, my focus has always been about doing things to solve significant problems, and if somebody's doing it already, and no matter what the market opportunity is, I'm always happy to support them and promote what they're doing and not try to do the same thing, not copycat, right? So anytime get involved in a business or co-found a business, it has to be something that's solving an existing problem that needs a resolution. And so we saw hormone imbalances as that problem. In the world of hormone imbalances, we have a huge need. More and more data is coming out now that 80% of women in their 20s and 30s have hormone imbalance issues, right? So it's not just perimenopausal women, it's not just menopausal women. It accelerates in those stages of life, but it starts now quite early because, of course, our environment and the toxicity and all the xenoestrogens and phytoestrogens and things like that we get exposed to, and hormone disruptors and endocrine disruptors and so on. So and birth control use, right? Of course, so many women in their 20s and 30s have been on birth control for 10, 15 years already at that point. So we saw that there's a massive issue. And then we did something called a social listening study, where you can hire this third party group that uses AI to go back and listen to all kinds of threads and communications and all that are publicly available based on a given theme, right? And so our theme was hormone imbalances, hormone replacement therapy, all of those things, and just see what people are saying, right? What is the general mindset of people? What are their pain points? What are they dealing with, and all that? And it was pretty alarming because what we saw from that social listening study, and this was like a program that looked at over 8 million conversations around this topic, right? So it was a very robust data set. And what we basically got out of it was that women, especially, were really struggling with hormone imbalance issues where they felt and they knew inherently that it was a hormone issue, but they were not getting the right support and validation from their medical
Mhm.
professionals, right? Because you do a blood static hormone test, and many of it, a lot of it can be in range, but yet you feel like shit and you feel you're gaining weight, right? You're having brain fog, you're having energy issues, your menstruation's off, like all kinds of things are off. And you know that it's likely hormonal because you see it cycling through different parts of the month, and yet your doctors are telling you from those static tests that your ranges are normal and you're fine, right? It's all in your head maybe. And so it became clear that there was a very low degree of confidence that women had generally in the medical establishment to help them with hormone issues. And so women were off kind of researching and trying to figure it out themselves. And unfortunately, in the world of supplements, there's a lot of nonsense as well. So then there's all this danger of being, misdirected into the wrong thing and taking things that don't necessarily help them and so on. So we said, okay, there's a huge need. Our favorite way of looking at hormones is through their urinary metabolites, right? So the Dutch test. Myself and the co-founders, especially my co-founders who are clinicians who have been doing hormones for a while, they use the Dutch test all the time. And the reason for the Dutch test is because the Dutch test gives you a much deeper insight into what's actually happening with hormone metabolism in your body, right? Because the static serum test, and maybe this is important to share with the audience, the difference between what your conventional doctor would do and what a doctor who does specialty testing would do. So the conventional doctor is going to do a serum test, right? And often they're going to do it at different points in the day. They're doing one point, whether you come in your appointment's at 2 p.m. or 4 p.m. or 8 a.m., you're going to get the test done at that time of day, right? The problem with that is when you look at serum values of hormones in a static measure, in a singular measure throughout the day, the fluctuations can be massive, right? There's a study that was published where they took a whole cohort of women and they measured their progesterone levels throughout the day, right? And they looked at it every few hours. And what they saw is within a 90-minute period, you can get an 80% variation
Yes.
in progesterone levels, right?
And guys, when he says serum, that means blood
Blood.
draw.
Yep, blood draw. And so if you're going to a conventional doctor and your appointment happens to be at 2 p.m., you're not getting the right picture of what your hormone levels are going to be throughout the day, right? Because that could be part of where your hormone happens to be declining quite a bit and or happens to be increasing quite a bit because cortisol is going up mid-afternoon for you, and cortisol is going to increase the production of progesterone. So you don't get an accurate picture, and the data set on the serum evaluation is also not accurate. So there's a big range. And so you might fit right in the middle of that, what looks like a normal range, right? But it's not actually telling you what's happening with your system. Now, when you do the urinary analysis, number one, you're doing it in four different time points throughout the day, right? That's the way the test is designed. Number two, you're looking at metabolites. And what's important about metabolites is they tell you the metabolic story of the hormone, right? They're not just telling you what the hormone is and what the level is in that time point. It's telling you what happened to that hormone throughout the day, right? How was it broken down? Where was it broken down? What is it being converted to more than what else? How is it being excreted? Or if it isn't, if it's even being excreted effectively, right? Are you detoxing from it? Are you removing it out of the body appropriately? So all these pictures become much more clear and gives you a much more clear understanding of what is actually going on metabolically with hormones in your body. Now, that's called the Dutch test, right? And that's done by this awesome lab called Precision Analytics. The issue with the Dutch test is it's very complicated.
Yeah.
right? As you know, as you've seen probably the reports,
Yeah.
there's so much information in there that is really, really valuable. But for the average practitioner, it's really hard to interpret it and gain all the value out of it, right? And so we said, okay, we have an opportunity to solve this problem. Number one, we think more people should be doing the Dutch test rather than just serum, just blood, right? You should be doing the urinary metabolites because it gives you a much better story. But we need to assist practitioners in understanding the outcome of the test. So we started digging into the tests, right? We started looking at every single variable that the test spits out. We started looking at all the levels of the variables and then how each variable connects to all the other variables, right? Because what does it mean if this enzyme is up, but this enzyme's down and this enzyme's normal, right? What does that pattern mean? What's actually happening metabolically in that individual? And there's so many variations of all of this, right? So through that process, we've basically discovered that in women alone, we've identified at least 238 different patterns of hormone dysfunctions, right?
Wow.
That's how complicated it can be, right? And which pattern are you, right? That's the question. And each of these patterns will require a slightly different approach. For example, estrogen dominance is a very common disruption,
Mhm.
right? That tends to be something like 70 or 80% of hormone imbalances is estrogen dominance. But we've discovered over 100 different versions of estrogen
Wow.
dominance, right? So you wouldn't just have one size fits all solution to anyone that has estrogen dominance. You have to understand what the version is. Are they having aromatizing issues on top of estrogen detox issues, and like what is going on in their system, right? So what we did is we said, okay, there's a lot of different patterns here. Let's look at the biochemistry of each pattern and look at the pathways that are governing these patterns, and then try to collate those pathways into actionable things that we can actually effectuate, right? So then we found that there's about 25 or 26 pathways that can be present in some of these patterns. And so we've identified each pattern and what the predominant pathway is that needs to be addressed. And so we created 26 different products that deal with specific pathways. And then depending on your pattern, you get a combination of those 26 products. And so it becomes the closest thing we can give you to a fully customized solution just for you,
Mhm.
right? Between those 26 products and the combination of 2, 3 of those products, we have over 4,000 unique combinations, right? So we can now look at your hormone imbalances. We can know exactly metabolically, biochemically what is happening to your hormones in your body and where things are not functioning correctly. And with the right selection of product, we can actually effectuate change in that specific pathway, right? So that becomes very specific to you and the problem you're facing. So even though you might be estrogen dominant like the next person, your estrogen dominance may be unique and different than the other person's. So this is endoaxis, where we're basically making clinicians hormone experts overnight. By giving them computational assistance in understanding the patterns,
Mhm.
identifying the patterns for them, and then allowing them to be able to treat root cause drivers in their patients' conditions, right? So you're going beyond just dealing with the symptoms, beyond just dealing with mood alterations or brain fog or whatever it may be. We're actually looking at the biochemistry of it and going after the root cause.
Amazing. Yeah. Did you guys hear that? That's absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, I've been studying this in my Indo Access portal for 2 months, just like mind blown.
Yeah.
And because I've been doing the BioMFX gut test, I see the estrogen dominance. Like
Mhm.
you said, everyone's pretty much in it. And as of now, it's like, okay, let's detox the liver, let's bring in some MegaGuard, let's do some specific things. But using this on top of my gut test with my
Mhm.
clients to forget it.
That
I'm
yeah,
like so
yeah.
excited.
That's the most comprehensive approach, right? So we know that with most hormone imbalance, is so important for the detox and removal of the hormones. And the gut is also responsible for activating certain hormones like thyroid hormone, for example, right? To go from T4 to T3, you need the gut microbiome that activates about 30% of all the thyroid hormone in your body. To make hormones within your system, you need the gut to assimilate nutrients properly. For example, for thyroid function, if you're looking at that beyond sex hormones, you need selenium, you need iodine, and you need your gut to assimilate those nutrients and transport it correctly. So the gut plays such an important role.
Mhm.
But when you can overlay the hormone metabolite data with the gut analysis, then you're really doing comprehensive solutions for people, the results can be quite magical.
Oh, I love that word, magical. I mean, talk about getting granular.
Hmm.
This is so incredible. Okay. So you pretty much already explained my second question, but I'll just say it again. I'll just say it. Okay, so for the people for the, okay, men and women, guys, Dutch test, the dried urine test is not just for women, even though we're talking about
Yeah.
women. Men can have a lot of issues as well,
So
so you can do these.
we found men have 80 different patterns of dysfunction that we can find.
Wow.
Yeah, which is
Okay.
more complex than I thought it would be for men. But it is. We men can have about 80 different. I think it's like 82 or 83.
Holy cow.
So yeah, so men is should absolutely be testing their hormone levels as well.
Yeah,
Impact the thing.
especially if there's like infertility happening
Yeah.
and you test and you find out the men's, it's not working properly, this would be great. Okay, so for the people that have already done a Dutch test, because it's been around for a long
Mhm.
time. They've already done it with a doctor in the past. How would working with me through Endo Access get them different results or different answers?
Yeah, I mean, we see generally, even with some of the most well-trained doctors on understanding urinary metabolites for hormones and all that, that the program can pick up things, nuances that's really hard for expert clinicians to pick up, right? So, for example, my co-founder and this my business partner, Dr. Guy Citron, he's been a hormone-based practice, anti-aging hormone gut based practice for the last 10 plus years, and he's a very skilled and seasoned clinician. But he does one or two case studies a week for the Endo Access practitioner base, because he's blown away by the insights that he's finding by using our own program.
That's
And he's an expert in this space, right? And
yeah.
so the ability of a algorithm, and we created this algorithm, so it's not an AI based system, meaning we didn't just use Chat GPT's AI to interpret hormones. The problem with doing something like that is that it'll get a lot of errors, right? Because normal AI that's available to everybody is a language model that just pulls information from the web, and there's a lot of nonsense information out there as well. It's hard for that AI to discern what's true and what's not. So we actually coded this algorithm ourselves from scratch, right? It's a
Wow.
300,000 plus lines of code. It's basically a clinical, one of a kind clinical algorithm that follows the analysis and thinking pattern of an expert group of clinicians who understand hormone metabolites, right? So using the program is like sitting in front of a panel of, let's say, three of the world's best clinicians in this space and getting an hour of their time, if you will, to interpret your test for you, right, and connect all the dots. That's the value of this, right? And it's free to use, which is amazing. That was one of our stipulations of this, is we didn't want to charge for this because we want people to understand the in-depth nuances of what's going on with their hormones. So how is it different? Let's say you got a test done 6 to 8 months ago. Nowadays we let you upload a test that's as I think as old as 8 months. So let's say you got a test done 6 months ago. Your clinician reviewed it, probably picked up some of the main things out of it, and then one of the hardest parts of, once you've done an interpretation of the test, right, is what do you do about it, right? Like, let's say you're a clinician, you have a pretty good understanding of urinary metabolites and hormone metabolism. You look at the test and you discern a few different issues, right? What most clinicians are doing is then they're piecemealing products based on ingredients that they want the consumer to have to try to put something together that is a therapeutic for the patient. So, for example, you might see that, oh, this patient could benefit from DIM and sulforaphane and B vitamins and a few different things. But then there's no product on the market that has all those things, right? So you just have to go to your normal brands that you go to and you look for the DIM product. Okay, I got this. Oh, and then I have the sulforaphane product. But most of those have other things in it as
Yeah.
well, right? Because most of these companies make kind of generic hormone products, as if there's a one size fits all kind of approach. And so, what clinicians are typically doing is they're just looking for ingredients and they're pulling products that have that ingredient, but they have other things in it. And some of those things may actually not be good for this individual's pattern,
Yeah.
right? And so, but they don't know that, right? It's hard to discern that. And so then they're doing their best to give you somewhat customized therapy. But often you're taking things that you probably don't need and so on. So then let's say they come to you and go, hey, I have this test from 6 months ago. You run it through the endo axis, it gives you the full interpretation. And not only will it likely validate what your clinician had identified, but it'll also pull out more nuances that are probably pretty meaningful, right? And then on top of that, it identifies your pattern, which means it knows exactly which biochemical pathways are the most important for you, and then it picks the product that services just that pathway, right? Without anything else in it. And so one of the things we always say at EndoAxis is, when you look at the therapeutic side of it, beyond the interpretation, the product selection, it's everything you need and nothing you don't. And that's to me, even more important part. Not only is it the ingredients that you actually need for your pathway dysfunction, but it also has nothing in it that you don't need for your pattern. Right.
Yeah.
So that's really important part of it. So what they'll end up getting is a much more customized understanding of their specific pattern and a much more customized therapeutic approach for their issue.
Yes. I've been reading his case studies. He emails them out twice a week, and I'm just like jaw dropped. And one of the gals that I'm beta testing it on, his first case study, I think like 4 weeks ago that he sent out, was almost like her exact situation with
Hmm.
cysts and everything. And I was like, oh, I was like, read it to her, and it gives her hope. And it was just so exciting. And the formulas,
Hmm.
yes, I want to talk about the formulas. They are so cool. I'm sorry, I don't remember all the co-founders' names. The gal that made the formulas, what's her name?
Liz Bartman. So Dr. Liz Bartman is
Yeah.
easily the most well educated person I've ever met on hormones. She's an absolute savant when it comes to understanding hormones and genetics. And genetics is another big part of her expertise. So yeah, she formulated all the products because she's an expert in hormones, hormone metabolites, genetics, but then also in herbal medicine.
Right. She's an
So
herbologist
yep.
too. And I was
So
looking at the formulas and I was like, oh, these are ridiculous. I mean, they're
mhm.
just gorgeous formulas with the Chinese medicine, the herbs, and the minerals. You got, some fat soluble nutrients, water soluble nutrients. I mean, it's just like, wow. And so, you guys, this is basically the way it works. It's like, I had a client bring me her Dutch test that was probably only like 4 months old. I uploaded it into the system. 5 minutes later, I had the report. The report is just gorgeous and it just like breaks everything down. It's very easy to read. And if, we don't understand a section, there's like an entire easy little dictionary
Yeah.
that I can go like look things up. And so we're reading through it, just like, wow, so many answers. Like she was inconsistent cycles, hot flashes, ovarian cysts. Like it just explained everything that her other doctor was like you said, no,
Mhm.
we don't really know. And they just put her on like an adrenal cocktail for her blood sugar balance. And that, like, was it. And it was really frustrating for her to not be able to get kind of like the results she was hoping from the previous touch test. So she was so excited for the results. And then boom, we got the formulas too. And we're reading through it. We're just like, okay, your cortisol is off. It's not just, it's cortisol, you guys, too, which was really
Hmm.
important for her. So we worked on her gut. We're working on her gut and her hormones at the same time. She's already a changed person 4 months in. She doesn't feel scatterbrained anymore. She called it squirrely. She was like, I sat for 6 hours and binged because she's been working so much. She's all, I've never been able to binge a Netflix show ever because we're regulating her nervous system and her hormones. And she's not on the couch with pain from her cyst anymore. Like, it's just been phenomenal. And that's my first client, you guys. The formulas. So let's talk about those because okay, what I appreciate about the formulas, they're not expensive.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They're not crazy expensive. We're talking
Yeah.
between like 30 and $50
Yeah.
per bottle.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what you said about having to, for me, I have been digging through FullScript trying to find supplements to match my clients' results for a long time. And you're right, it's hard to just get that exact thing, and it gets so expensive.
Yeah.
Before you know it, the protocol's at like $300, and you're like, sorry, you know. And so her starting protocol, she was 3 formulas she had to start, and then there was 2 additionals,
Yeah.
which we didn't do the additionals because we've been using the Zindual,
Yeah.
and we're using the prebiotics from Microbiome Labs that he invented, you guys, to help her as well. So the 3 formulas that she started were like $120.
Hmm.
And I was able, because they're such beautiful blends, it was like, okay, I pulled out some of the other additional supplements that the specialist from Microbiome Labs had her on for her gut test. And we were able to kind of combine everything into one very easy gut and hormone
Hmm.
regimen that's, again, not super pricey, and she's getting incredible results from already. Her hot flashes are already gone. She's been on the formulas for 3 weeks.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, what is happening? So, yeah.
It's the most comprehensive care you can provide them, and at some point, depending on your age, the individual may need hormone replacement, right? Let's say you get to a certain age in menopause where you're just not producing estrogen anymore. You're going to need estrogen as a replacement. It's even relevant then because in the case of hormone replacement, you're basically putting back in a hormone that they're not making anymore, but that hormone still has to go through complex metabolic processes in the body, and many of those metabolic processes and pathways can still be dysfunctional, right? So to get the most out of even hormone replacement, if you're at the age where you need that, you would still want to do things like this. You'd still want to
Yeah.
do the Dutch. You'd still want to look at the endo products, and support hormone metabolism in the most optimized way or optimal way. And now there's even more reason for 20-year-olds and 25-year-olds and 30-year-olds to start doing this because the data is coming out that 80% of women in that age range have hormone imbalance
No,
issues,
it's
right?
true. My client just now that came into my gut and viral restoration program, she just turned 30. And the
Yeah.
doctor literally told her, well, you're getting old, And she was like, what? I'm
Right.
30,
Right.
but she's having so many hormonal issues. And you're right. Like, that's the majority of women that I'm talking to now is the younger population. And we talked about this on our other interview. I love helping. I mean, I love helping everyone, but I love particularly helping the younger generation because they are not yet moms.
Right.
And so we're going to be rebuilding the gut. We're going to be working on the hormones to be able to build a good baby. And I don't know if I can talk to you about this. I don't know if you're involved in this, but I just found out about the vaginal probiotic
Mhm.
and the pregnancy probiotic last week. Did you develop those?
No, I
Uh,
did not, but it was
yeah.
one of my big pushes while I was still there at Microbiome Labs, and that was one of the very, very positive things that came out of the merger or acquisition with Christian Hansen, because Christian Hansen is the company that developed a lot of those strains. I had tried to gain access to those strains when I was still running Microbiome Labs, but they were pretty exclusive and it was hard to get them because they're the most well studied strains for vaginal health, for women's health, for fertility, and so on. And that was one of the cases I made, is that we really need to address these conditions, and these strains are the best strains to do it. So I'm very happy to see that they're launching those and that'll be coming out. I think it's going to be a game changer for a lot of women, because it's just so
Seriously.
they're so well researched. There's such great technologies, and it's so exciting that it's coming out, under the brand that I had created, Microbiome Labs. So it's an honor to be able to see that.
I know. And I'm already thinking like, okay, we're gonna fix their hormones, we're gonna fix their gut, we're gonna get them on the good vaginal probiotics, we'll transition them to the pregnancy
Mhm.
probiotics. And then I mean I'm just like, like
For fertility, this is an amazing thing. If you're,
mhm.
and yeah, if you're of the age where you're thinking of having a baby sometime in the next 2, 3, 4 years, or even or less than that, it's a great time to start looking at your hormone balance right now. Because your fertility is going to be dictated by your metabolic processes of your hormones, your detox capabilities, what your vaginal microbiome looks like, what your gut microbiome looks like. So there's a vaginal microbiome test that you can do. There's a gut microbiome test that you can do. There's now going to be vaginal probiotics, gut probiotics, and then understanding your hormones and optimizing it. All of that preparation a couple years beforehand will make the whole fertility component of it much easier,
Yeah.
right? And we now know that human fertility is declining very substantially in
Mm.
at a very scary rate, right? It's declining close to 1% per year. And when you combine men and women, men alone, sperm count levels have decreased by 1% per year over the last 50 years. So on average, men have 50% lower sperm count today than they did 50 years ago, right? Which is
Yikes.
crazy. And it's continuing to go down that. So in 50 years, we might have, half of the sperm count we have now, which is half of what we had 50 years from now, right?
Ron, what is causing that?
It's
What is making men?
so a lot of it is hormone disruption and gut health issues. So
Yeah.
testosterone, dramatic changes in testosterone, which impacts sperm count, right? So there's something called a gelding theory, where that talks about how gut inflammation and leaky gut and chronic low grade inflammation reduces testosterone production. This is why men in their 20s today, on average, have the same testosterone levels as men in the 40s used to have, right? Back 25, 30 years ago. And so we're constantly seeing this decline in testosterone, decline in sperm count, decline in fertility overall. Women's fertility, I think, has reduced almost 30% in the last 50 years. And it's another linear scale. So we keep going down this route. In 30, 40 years from now, it's going to be very hard to have babies, right? Humans aren't going to be able to make other humans anymore, which is crazy. And it all has to do with our collective gut health, our environment, the toxicity in our environment, the impact that that has on our gut and hormone balance, on our gut liver access, all of those things, right? So all the things that you try to help people with, those are the things that are impactful in terms of fertility and conception.
Well, hopefully RFK is gonna put some companies in check, and our environment and our food isn't gonna be so toxic anymore. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And thanks to you and your co-founders, oh, I froze. Creating programs like this, like you said, it's this one report is going to be like having a panel of three specialists tell us what's going on with our hormones, and then and then the system, you guys, so not only do you get the report, the system kicks out the formulas that match the report results, so you're getting that targeted, tailored to your pattern, your needs, uh recommendation. And it's like, and I have all of this data for my clients within like 10 minutes. And then I just upload it and I create my clients a plan in full script, drop the formula for the report recommended, shoot it over to them. They can order it, have it on their doorstep within a week or less. Like,
Hmm.
this is so streamlined and so fantastic that I really do think that it's going to disrupt what you just said of everyone declining and like birth rates dropping, because we have to get this out to the entire world, which is why I wanted to bring you on today and talk about this. This is a big deal. Big
I
deal.
mean, it's literally without being too hyperbolic about it, it's existential, right, for
Yeah.
humans because if we can't make babies anymore, and yes, there's all this talk about overpopulation and all that. When it's that's controversial whether we have an overpopulation issue or not. But there are countries right now on the world today that may not exist in 10 to 15 years because of the inverted cones of their population, because so much of their population is in that 65 and above range, right? And their percent of their population in the younger range is much lower because birth rates have dropped so much. And so we're getting an amazing number of people going into the golden years of their life, if you will, but are not working and are no longer productive because they're retiring, well deserved, of course, but they're no longer producing in society, and so you count on the progress of society by the percentage of your population that is under a certain age. And there are countries right now where that percentage of that population is so low that the countries may not even exist in a couple of decades, right? Because their curve is so inverted, and that's a danger, right? And then the amount of money that people have to spend on trying to get pregnant.
Yeah.
You know, if you're undergoing fertility treatments and you're going on undergoing IVF and all that, that's like 40, $50,000 out of your pocket, right? Insurance is not covering it, and all the while, you know, as you're getting to that stage where you want to have babies, you're suffering from all these symptomologies, you know, brain
Mhm.
fog and metabolic health and energy issues and all of these things that you know instinctually are hormone related, but no doctor is pinpointing that for you and telling you like, yes, it is, and here's the solution for it, right? That's what we saw from listening to those 8 million conversations
Oh.
in that listening social listening study, and we're like, it's time we have to do something about it.
And you did. And this
Hmm.
is, and it's here,
It's here.
and it's ready. Okay, and we're rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
I'm rocking and rolling with it. I'm gonna drop and I'm gonna open this program next year and do the best I can to help as many people as I can with it. And okay, so since you said there was over 200 patterns that we can have, one of the things, like for me, that
Mhm.
I was wondering is, okay, um, how often would I want to retest
Mhm.
and switch up formulations? 4 to 6 months?
So our recommendation is 6 months. Yeah,
Okay.
every 6 months you should look at retesting, and you may see a pattern shift.
Mhm.
And if you do see a pattern shift, there may be a product change as a result of that as well. But that's good progression. You know, it's not at all unreasonable to see a little bit of nuancing and fluctuation in what your biochemistry is doing.
Mhm.
But that's totally fine. And as long as you're moving in the right direction in terms of how you feel, in terms of what your markers are and your ranges are, then you're progressing in the right way. So
Mhm.
we say every 6 months, do the tests again, the Dutch test, get it interpreted, look at where your pattern compares to the last one, and then it may require a product shift.
Okay.
Um, or, you know, what you said. So when you looked at your very first case, remember it recommended three core products and then two additional products that could be beneficial,
Mhm.
right? That aren't necessarily the core products. Where you could be is at 6 months, you could be where you've made so much improvement. You still have a similar pattern, but or the patterns completely change, and there's the recommendation then may be those two other products
Mhm.
rather than the three core products, right? Meaning that that biochemistry is improved enough where now it's more important to address the auxiliary factors, the other factors that were not the core factors before but now are the cofactors, right? The core factors. So that's the beauty of this kind of algorithm is it's intelligent enough to discern all that and make
Wow.
all those connections and assessments for you, so that you know you can lean on its capabilities to do that.
Okay, cool. So that's good to know. And I would imagine just with age, like
Hmm.
I'm 40, I turned 46 this year.
Hmm.
So if I'm on a formula, I'm going to do my test in like probably a week or two. So I'll do my formulas for 6 months, but then I kind of just plan on testing myself like every birthday, kind of
Hmm.
like, okay, getting older. Um, and like you said, that doesn't mean that it's going to stop me from maybe needing to go on like progesterone or
Hmm.
estrogen. But I would imagine going into menopause, it would make it a lot less brutal.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yes, that's a critical part, right? Because, you know, of course, menopause can be brutal because of the sharp decline in the production of hormones, but it's also brutal because of the sharp changes in the metabolic processes of these hormones as well, right? So going into menopause, number one, understanding where your metabolic pitfalls are, that in itself can be extremely useful because you can mitigate that before you enter a phase where your total hormone production levels are pretty low. And then number two, you also then understand the resulting symptomology
Mhm.
of that particular pattern that you tend to have disruption with, right? And which means that you can find other ways of trying to mitigate the symptoms that are associated with that pattern as well,
Yeah,
knowing that maybe the symptoms become more intense as you enter
yeah,
menopause. So there's a lot of great insight in there,
yeah,
and you have access to our resource center, which I
mhm,
think is gated for practitioners only.
yeah.
And I don't know if you've had a chance to explore that yet,
Mhm.
but we've got like hundreds upon hundreds of pages on the resource center for lifestyle things and all that can help with some of these dysfunctions as well.
Yeah, that's a rabbit hole.
It
I've
is.
looked into it. I'm like, wow, I don't have time to read all of this. Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. Okay, so it's going to be great for anyone going, and it actually can tell you, because women want to know the term, like, am I hitting perimenopause?
Hmm.
Am I in menopause? Like, you can. It does tell you
Hmm.
specifically. It does tell you
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So if that's something you guys are wondering, it will tell you.
It does.
Um, and
And
then,
and I
sorry.
should mention that it gives you both a sex hormone pattern, but an adrenal pattern as well,
Right.
right? So
I
it's
was going to ask
yes.
you that. There's the Dutch Complete and the Dutch
Hmm.
Plus. So we can do the saliva and the urine
Hmm.
or just the urine. Which one do you think is better? I would imagine the saliva too.
Yeah, I would add that in as well because obviously that gives you a good reading on cortisol. And cortisol has a huge impact on your hormones. And so it'll be really good to know that information. And then the algorithm takes into account that info and gives you a very good and accurate adrenal pattern
Hmm.
as well. Now, the adrenal pattern is great because some of the formulas that we've created for some of those adrenal patterns can alleviate a lot of adrenal based symptomology that people experience on a day to day basis, right?
Hmm.
Anxiety, mood disorders, sleep issues, all of those things that are part of the adrenal set of symptoms. So not only are you then correcting some of the hormone imbalances, but you can also address some of the more immediate things that you feel. Like maybe you feel you have an issue with your cortisol awakening response, or afternoon significant dip in your energy levels, or anxiety or brain fog. All of
Or
those
why you
things can
can't
be
fall
addressed as well.
asleep. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it does
Cool.
address that whole side of the equation as well.
Okay. So that's good to know. So I'll just go straight to the Dutch
Hmm.
Plus, which for everyone listening, it is $400 with a $12.50 like I don't know, I forget service fee or something.
Hmm.
So that's what everyone's going to be looking at. That's the base fee. That's even what I would have to pay for myself. And then, like I said, the formulations that go along with it, they're not crazy expensive. There's about three,
Hmm.
from what I see, that you're going to need to buy, and then two that you can opt to buy. And so you would be looking at altogether, just for the products, a little over $500. But then obviously if they want to come work with me, there's going to be my fees for my time and my protocols. So we mix this together with cleaning up nutrition, decreasing stress, getting rid of constipation, ladies, my gosh. And you're going to be regrowing your hair. Your energy is going to go up. Your libido is going to come back. You're going to be able to get pregnant. You're going to feel like yourself
Mm.
again. That's like the underlying thing is like, you're going to feel like yourself again.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. So can't thank you enough for everything,
Of course. My pleasure. My pleasure. And thank you so much for making this available to people. I mean, we create these technologies for people like you to take it out to the masses. So without you doing that, nobody would get the benefit from this stuff, right? So I appreciate that support and this opportunity for this conversation.
Yes, my pleasure. All right, you guys, you're welcome. All right, so if you guys are interested in talking with me, working with me on your hormones or your gut through Endo Access or BiomeFX, which are both of his companies, then you can DM me. Just DM me. My assistant will get back to you. We can get you booked for a discovery call. Or you can check out my website, which is coachsojoy.com. I haven't added the Endo Access program to my services on my website just yet, but I'm going to. So if you guys have any questions, if you're not following this man, please do. Please, he drops the best videos and you will learn more about your gut health or vaginal health or skin health or anything that you've been wondering, because I have a lot of people ask me questions and I send his videos to them and I'm like, look, he explains it. So have a Merry Christmas and I'll
Have a
talk to
Merry
you soon.
Christmas. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye.